Everyone? Oh, we better wait for ABC. That's right. Okay, well, I'm absolutely delighted to be here in... All right, we'll just step out to you. Ready? Thanks.
Choosing to be difficult. Sorry.
That's right, no problems. Okay, good afternoon. Very pleased to be here in Mackay, and first and foremost, can I say, this pumped hydro is nation building, and it's going to be happening right here in Mackay. It is going to set this city up for the future. It's going to mean jobs. It's going to mean more industries being attracted to this region. And here we are today at Steel Central, and they have the potential here to employ more people in the future as their energy needs will absolutely be met by our transition to renewable energy targets of 80% by 2032. Now, this Pioneer Burdekin hydro, pumped hydro, is at the centrepiece of our plan. We need to be able to have storage. This is going to be the battery of the north. The jobs are in regional Queensland. The growth is going to be felt in regional Queensland. This is nation leading, it is world leading, and it will be the largest pumped hydro in the world. It's going to take thousands of workers to build this. It will be built in 2 stages, and as you can see from the diagram over here too, the majority of the land is either existing cattle grazing land, or it is some sugarcane farming land as well. We currently have, and Minister Debrenni will talk about the process that we'll be going through, speaking with landholders, but this project is going to be right on the doorstep for Mackay and the region. There'll be no inundation of any national parks as well, so I want to give that reassurance to the people of this region. And I also want to give the reassurance to the people of Mackay and surrounding regions is that I've had very good preliminary first conversations with the Prime Minister, and I know how much he is interested in nation building infrastructure as well. So also today we are also announcing a new public owned entity called Queensland Hydro, and that'll be created to progress this project. We're absolutely serious about it, and there'll be 2 pumped hydros, of course, one Barumba west of Gympie, and this is the biggest. This is one of the biggest projects the state has ever seen. This is bigger than the Cross River Rail project in southeast Queensland. So when you hear about people saying it's all going to the southeast, it's not. Mackay is going to get a lion's share of massive infrastructure and jobs, and more jobs. I'll hand over to the DP, then the state member, Julieanne Gilbert, want to say a few words, and then we'll progress down, and then we're happy to take your questions after that. DP, over to you.
Thank you so much, Premier. The Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan is a $62 billion jobs bonanza for the regions. 95% of that investment will go into regional Queensland, and Mackay will be at the epicentre of it. Building this pumped hydroelectric scheme will take thousands of jobs in construction, thousands of jobs in supply chains, like here at Steel Connect, and thousands of jobs in the industries that will use that cheap, clean, reliable 24/7 energy. As the Premier calls it, this will be the big battery of the north. It will allow us to use solar energy generated during the day at night, providing that cheap, reliable 24/7 energy that our households and our heavy industries need.
Julieanne?
Yeah. Today is certainly an exciting day for Mackay and the wider region, and in fact for the whole of Queensland. This project is going to be the jobs for the kids who are sitting in our high schools now.
Right.
All those kids who are going to do their apprenticeships on this iconic infrastructure with our hydro here, they'll be able to say to their grandkids, I built that. So this is really exciting. It's history making. It's also really important for those number of businesses that come knocking on the door here in Mackay, because we've got so many resources here. We've got the water, we've got all the feedstock, and they want to set up businesses. The first thing they say when they come knocking on the door, can you guarantee green power? The whole of Queensland now will be able to say to any business knocking on the door of Queensland, come on in, we've got green power set up here in Queensland, bring your businesses into Australia. So this is the future of our families in this region, and our region is just going to keep on growing. So I am really excited that it's happening in our backyard, because this is what Central Queensland needs and deserves.
Pierre, did you want to say a few words, and then we'll go to our Energy Minister? Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been one of those people for a long time saying it all happens in southeast Queensland. And I hope now that I'm going to have to eat my words, because this is a significant announcement for our region. And it's significant in a number of ways, because we grow a third of Australia's sugar in this region. We know we can double the output of that if the biofutures industry uses sugar as a feedstock. And we've had, with the Department of State Development, over the last 12 months, 2 large discussions with very, very large companies, international companies, who want to use sugar as a feedstock and to produce things like milk, would you believe, and egg white. And that's using the component of sucrose to produce something that will be a saviour for the world, really, doubling the world's supply of milk without producing another cow. In that supply chain, for both those companies, as you've heard, they are demanding green energy. And energy for us is going to be the future saver, the job protection and the deliverable for regional Queensland, for Queensland and Australia. And if it happens here in the Mackay Valley, in the Pioneer Valley, at the top end of the valley, that's exactly what we need to see. And if it's a long-term project, Premier, then that's fantastic. Whenever we start, however long it takes, we want to make sure that it finishes here in our region. So great announcement, thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Mick, and then we might take some questions. Yep.
Thanks very much, Premier. Well, the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan announced by the Premier yesterday is going to be a jobs bonanza for Queensland, particularly in regional Queensland. Importantly, 95% of the investment in this plan will be in the regions, creating jobs and opportunities for businesses just like this one. Today we're here talking about the largest pumped hydroelectric scheme in the world. A capacity at 5,000 megawatts to power around 1.5 million homes. You can't be serious about delivering on our renewable energy targets without a firming and storage strategy, and this plan demonstrates that we are serious about delivering on those accelerated renewable energy targets. This is a game changer for industry in regional Queensland as well. We know that businesses like this one, their customers are demanding lower emissions embedded in the products that they make, and so projects like the Pioneer Burdekin Pumped Hydro Scheme will absolutely deliver that. I just want to give some perspective in terms of the size of this scheme. It is the equivalent of 9.6 million household batteries. Just 3 years ago, the South Australians announced the biggest battery in the country. This pumped hydro will store the equivalent of 617 of those big batteries. That is massive. It is the size of 21 of the Wivenhoe pumped hydros. That's our largest existing. And it's terrific that the Premier has indicated today the establishment of Queensland Hydro that will be solely focused on the delivery of these mega projects here in regional Queensland. Now, work has already commenced. The team has been out on the ground preparing to commence engagement with property owners. We've been meeting with traditional owners. In fact, the Euroborough traditional owners, one of the couple of traditional owner groups in the region, will be meeting with us in coming days. It's incredibly important. Detailed engineering, hydrological studies will get underway, as well as geological studies. This project, when in full construction, will support jobs for many thousands of people, and then of course in businesses like this one, support jobs for many years to go. It's also great for the reef, this project. Making sure that we can put downward pressure on energy costs is important, but also reducing emissions. And so our emissions under this plan reduced by 90% by 2035. That's an extraordinary contribution to our nation and our planet's clean energy and net zero emissions targets. So we're very proud to be here today because what we're delivering in terms of clean energy, lower emissions, and you can see from everyone from the Premier, the Deputy Premier, the local member and the Mayor that we're pumped about hydro in Mackay.
Thank you. We might take some questions about this project first.
That design over there shows that the Mackay Road is probably underwater. Will communities have to move? Will all communities have to be moved from that project?
There is going to be, my understanding is around 50 homes, and the department, as Mick said, are already out there speaking to the families. So there will be a lot of community consultation, yes.
Is it the town of Debrenni or Queensland?
Oh, I'll get Mick to address that, yeah. I might just get Mick because the Minister's Department's been doing that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Premier.
Yeah.
Of course, it's important that we work one-on-one with each of those landowners, and the Queensland Hydro team is out on the ground engaging with those residents now. So we've already established meetings with around 20% of those landowners, and those engagements have been very positive. The resumptions that are involved in this are not significant in terms of their number, and they are commensurate with the other types of infrastructure, like for example, significant road projects. So this is a process that we take seriously, though, of course, and we want to be respectful of those landowners. I heard also before some discussion from the Mayor about the importance of the sugarcane growing industry, and I'm pleased to let you know as well that the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan will deliver further work in terms of those sorts of fuel sources, bioenergy, to make sure that not only are we delivering wind, solar, battery, pumped hydro, this extraordinary pumped hydro scheme, but that we're also looking about how we can innovate in those fuels industries as well. So we're working with those homeowners immediately, and as I say, around 20% of them have already had a conversation with our Queensland Hydro team over the course of the last 24 hours, and we're out on the ground again today. We're out commencing to take on board those engineering studies, the geological studies, those hydrological studies, and so we want to be in full construction by the middle of this decade, so about 2025. To deliver on our renewable energy targets, we need to have this project at its first stage completed by 2032. So we're in full swing, but we are working respectfully with those communities. Yeah, so the timelines, of course, are going to be a key focus for us. That's why we've created the new entity, Queensland Hydro. Its sole focus is on delivering these projects on time so that we can meet our renewable energy targets. I'm very proud that our government's taken the decision to give an entity that focus, but importantly, that entity is a publicly owned company. It has been public ownership of our energy system that has allowed us to map out an orderly transition to a clean energy economy.
What preliminary environmental work has been done to determine species that will be affected by this project, and what's the risk of this turning into a repeat of the devastating project?
Well, there's no risk of that whatsoever. This project is entirely different. In fact, we've researched around 1,000 sites across the state, and this one stacks up as simply the best pumped hydroelectric opportunity anywhere in Queensland. In fact, it represents one of the best opportunities in the world. That's why it's going to be the largest pumped hydroelectric storage facility by capacity anywhere in the world. Of course, we'll work through all of those appropriate environmental approvals starting from today. There'll be a range of other approvals that we'll need to work through, but they are consistent with all other major projects. But most importantly, this project delivers us a significant economic opportunity for North Queensland. The jobs that will be created here directly in the delivery of this project, but also the jobs that will be created by supporting lower emissions electricity for significant businesses like this one are significant.
Anyone is quite a big proponent of the Dam project and how this might ultimately affect their development?
So we have planned in the Energy and Jobs Plan to deliver significant storage that is publicly owned. It doesn't exclude privately owned storage, so we'll see batteries delivered behind the meter in businesses like this, in homes, and we welcome other proponents of pumped hydro as well. Of course, there's the Kidston pumped hydro, which is in construction at the moment, and so what we are delivering through our plan is the significant backbone infrastructure that this state, in fact this nation, needs to meet its emissions reduction and clean energy objectives.
Where's the water coming from?
So the water for this project will be in a closed system. So we'll capture rainfall and we'll simply recirculate that up and down. In the daytime, when energy is cheap and plentiful from all of our solar, it'll be pumped up. And then when there is high demand for electricity and solar has come off, we'll use gravity to run that through turbines to deliver clean energy to Queensland households and businesses. Perhaps, Premier, the Water Minister will be able to talk to that, but before he does, we have done the research on this particular site. This is one of the highest rainfall regions anywhere, even in the years of drought in the rest of the state. The rain still falls in this region. We're very confident of that.
It's falling today.
That's right. So the $62 billion announced under the plan is the profile of investment that we think will be needed to deliver the Queensland supergrid. This is the supergrid that connects southeast Queensland all the way up to North Queensland, out to Hughenden, that connects our 3 renewable energy zones. The Premier announced on Monday Australia's largest publicly owned wind farm. Energy from those projects will be stored and shifted around the state when and where it's needed. And so the investment and the funding for this project will come from a mixture of government borrowings and investment by Queensland Hydro itself for some of those renewable energy projects, whilst the generation projects, whilst we're committed to majority public ownership, we do welcome private sector investment. And the Premier has indicated that the construction of the Pioneer Burdekin project will be a magnet for international investors to come to Queensland and support the economic transition of Queensland. Well, the Hell's Gate project can stand up on its own 2 feet, and I understand that it's a water system. This is an energy system, and the energy system in Queensland is very unique in terms of its scale of public ownership. It's public ownership and the decision of Queenslanders and this Premier to keep the energy system in public ownership that's allowed us to outline a transition, one that is orderly, one that keeps prices down, one that protects jobs. Just this morning we gave a job security guarantee to the energy workforce. So there is a really positive outcome for everybody in the energy sector, for businesses like the one that we're visiting today, and of course for the entire region.
What's the starting budget for Queensland Hydro? I guess when you guys ramp up, like how many people do you have working and how many do you expect to have soon, by the end of the financial year?
Oh, this is a significant undertaking, and of course there'll be partners in terms of the delivery in the major civil construction process, the construction of the dams and the powerhouse itself. I think at peak construction we can expect to see around 2,500 workers on this project, probably working 24/7. Really importantly as well, our Buy Queensland procurement policy will apply to this project. That means that local businesses will get the lion's share of that work. That's terrific news. So if you're in civil construction, if you're in fabrication, if you're in service delivery in this community, you'll get the opportunity to be part of this nation-building project.
I might just also add to, as a down payment on this, to show government is absolutely serious about this, there's $270 million that has been allocated as part of that $6 billion to actually get that more intensive detail planning done. So a lot of work's going into this, and of course this project alone is around $12 billion. Like I said, one of the most significant infrastructure projects that this state has ever seen, happening right here in Mackay.
Premier, can I ask another matter?
Yep, okay, everyone else can go if you want. Yep.
Why did it take so long for you to add the Paralympic title to your...
Yeah, thanks for that. And I've had a detailed conversation, and it was agreed that we would be discussing this next week at the Olympic Board meeting. On an aside from that, and it's something that I know that the Paralympians feel very strongly about, and I recognise that, and I accept that, and I'm more than happy to add that to my title.
So was it an error not having it from the...
No, not really, because as I explained to them, I actually checked this because I was concerned myself. I checked with the International Olympic Committee. They didn't indicate that there was any issue with it. But I understand this is a feeling that is coming from the Paralympians themselves, and therefore I'm happy to make sure we want an inclusive Games. I was also a previous Minister for Disabilities as well. I want to make these Games as inclusive as possible, so very happy to do that.
Premier, in October in Parliament, you said John Coates told you that you could be Paralympic title.
That's what I just talked about, how I checked it with the International Olympic Committee as well. Yeah.
Premier, the
Yes.
job guarantee that you signed the other day
Yes.
with the energy sector, do you envisage there will be a need to sign a similar guarantee with coal workers in the future?
As I said this morning, there are about 400 workers in those particular coal mines that is a feeder to the coal-fired power stations. Those jobs are also guaranteed as we move towards this clean, green revolution. So it's very clear that the guarantee is there. It's a job guarantee. Minister Debrenni and I went and met personally with the workers today, and can I say they are excited about their future. I met one family, a father and son, working at Stanwell as well. Father and daughter, I should say, and they were very excited about the future because they know this is coming. Everybody can see the world is transitioning, and because we had a previous federal government that wasn't prepared to do the hard work, to do a national energy policy, everything stalled. But in Queensland, we set a target and we saw massive investment coming in from the private sector doing wind and solar farms that are happening right throughout this state. Now what we will see is even more investment, which means more jobs, which means keeping that super grid and our hydros in public hands. Making sure that Queenslanders continue to own those assets. But the new assets that are going to come online, which will be like I describe it as a magnet coming towards that super grid, those projects will see huge investment from companies from around the world that already see the opportunity that is here in Queensland. And as I say to the families sitting at home there tonight, this is a great future. This is a future where we are leading and taking action on climate change. And this is happening in Queensland. It sets Queensland up for the decades to come.
What about the broader coal sector, though? Premier, just what about the broader coal sector? I mean, as you say, we're on a path to net zero globally.
Yeah,
Do
and
we expect our coal exports to drop at some point in the future? Do we need to look at workers who are outside of that sphere supplying coal to government power stations? Does that broader sector need to be looked at? after in the longer term?
Well, let's be clear. As I said, metallurgical coal is going to be needed for exports for years to come because it's used in steel making. So until someone invents another way of making steel. But what we are seeing overseas, a huge drive by companies like in countries like South Korea, to actually look at getting hydrogen gas as part of their mix, 20% mix of their coal. So what does that mean? Well, it means it opens up another massive industry here for us in terms of hydrogen export. That's why we're investing in these massive precincts up and down the coast, in Gladstone, in Townsville. You've got Fortescue Metals investing in Gladstone to make the hydrogen electrolyzers. What you will see gradually over time is a mix in the exports, and that mix in the exports is already starting to happen. And as hydrogen comes online, just as we saw with LNG, there will be a different mix of our exports. Yes. Yes. Yep.
Very long time for this report. They were looking forward to the findings being released on Wednesday. Did you or anyone in your office tell the Health Minister to delay that trend?
No, the Health Minister will make her own mind up about when she releases that report, but I do know she wants to meet with some of the advocacy groups in the first instance. Secondly, let me say, the Health Minister has advised me this is an incredibly serious report. It needs to be given due consideration, and she wants the opportunity to meet with those advocacy groups before she releases that report. Thirdly, let me say this. Due to the seriousness of the report, the Health Minister has asked that she urgently puts this on the Cabinet agenda next week, to which I have agreed to. It is that serious. So please, I urge everyone to listen to what the Health Minister has to say tomorrow about the findings, and let me assure you that government will take swift action.
HHS has had it for 3 weeks. It was all set to go on Wednesday. What happened? Why are these women having more delays?
Well, they're not having any more delays. They are being treated with respect, and that is how I would expect them to be treated. Okay, thanks.
Good job, Jen.